Hello and welcome to the Glow Movement Podcast. My name is Sloan Reid and I am so excited to welcome you to the first official episode of the podcast, the coffee cup episode. Ironically, I do not have a cup of coffee in front of me. I'll share a little bit more later what the coffee cup represents, but for now, just know that there's spillage involved. And with me being in my studio with all my equipment and it's the first episode, it just felt like a bad omen. So I chose to forgo that and avoid that whole mess. But I hope that you have your favorite beverage with you as I share an emotional roller coaster that I had in response to a very popular quote. If you've spent any time in personal development or in a role where you are required to give a lot of yourself, a service-based role, if you are a leader, especially a servant leader or a parent, you have probably heard the quote, "You can't pour from an empty cup." And I'll never forget the first time I heard this quote. I was at a leadership, like a women's leadership retreat, and the beautiful visual was painted of those tall champagne glass pyramids that if you've ever been to a formal wedding or an event, you've probably seen it, or in the movies, you've probably seen this pyramid made of stacking champagne glasses. And the top glass is meant to represent you, and they pop the cork of something bubbly and fill that top glass. And as it begins to fill, it begins to overflow onto the glasses below it. And the glasses below it begin to overfill, and it's the ripple effect of that and until all the glasses are full. And the first time I heard that and had that visual, I realized I was set free from a lot of limiting beliefs. One, that I thought rest was lazy. I thought self-care was selfish, that I wore busy as a badge of honor. And it was in that moment that I was excited and relieved to be made aware of these limiting beliefs and excited to get started, to be intentional of healing them and breaking free from them. Unfortunately, I didn't know how. So I began to keep doing that. Well, I continued to keep doing what I had always done. I was yes for yes sakes, and I was go, 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 go. And rest was a luxury, not a necessity. And water, who's she? And it began to take a toll on me. And so naturally, I was running on empty. And so of course that quote would come up again. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I began to get so triggered and irritated by that quote that I would have a physical response. Like my body would literally cringe every time I heard it because I felt so frustrated because I didn't know how to fill my cup. I didn't know what that meant. Surely it was not a bubble bath and candles. It had to be more than that. And so a couple years later, I was shared the story of the coffee cup. So I want to share it with you. So I want you to imagine that you are in your home and you have your favorite coffee mug in hand and you are filling it. And even if you don't like coffee, this coffee is special. It's the best in the world and you're going to love it. And you put all of your favorite little add-ons in it and you begin to make your way to your favorite spot in the house. And when you're on your way, you get bumped. Either by your significant other, a child, a pet, in my case, the wall, whatever it is, it bumps you and coffee spills everywhere. A few moments later, I walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is there coffee everywhere? Of course, you're going to snap at me and be, because so-and-so bumped me, or that wall came out of nowhere. When that's true, while that's true, the more enlightened and self-aware perspective, an empowered perspective, is the reason coffee spilled everywhere is because that's what you put in your cup. If you would have put tea or juice in your cup, that's what would have spilled out everywhere. So that is really where our power lies, is what we put in our cup. Because the reality is life is going to throw bumps at you. You're going to get bumped. You're going to have unexpected challenges. That's part of the human experience. That our reaction to it can sometimes feel involuntary. But if we're proactive, our response can reflect who we really are and our true healed self. So how do we do that? How do we fill our cup? Is realizing that every choice we make, every habit, every decision, everything in our environment is adding to our cup. So the word diet comes to mind. Please don't be triggered. But it's really popular around this time of year. And if you've ever been on a fitness journey or a health journey, you've probably heard that the saying, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Well, so is anything that you consume, including what you listen to, what you watch, who you surround yourself with, what your habits are, what you eat, your movement level, your water. I'm making jokes about water because sometimes I really struggle in that area, but I'm working on it. You're part of that. So me not having a beverage for this episode is not a great start, but the next one, I'll make sure I have my water. But with that, all of those choices, including not drinking water, is things that you're putting in your cup. And the ripple or side effect of those things is what's going to pour out. So really funny story. I had a couple friends who went on a reality TV show, a super popular reality TV show. And so I wanted to be a supportive friend by being a consistent fan. And although reality TV isn't on my typical binge watch list, and don't get me wrong, I do have a list. It's just reality TV usually doesn't make the cut. I decided to be a good friend and watch. And this was part of my weekly routine, was to support my friends and to watch the show. And part of the appeal for many of this show is the drama, is a little bit of pettiness, the toxicity, and the insecurities that lead to assumptions that lead to drama and fights based on those insecurities and assumptions. And I started to realize that formula of insecurities plus assumptions equal drama was showing up in other areas of my life. And while looking back, a healed perspective realized, the positive way to perceive that season, no pun intended, was it helped me identify some unhealed triggers that I had the opportunity to grow through. But the problem with triggers is while they're wonderful in helping you identify some blind spots and some unhealed trauma that gives you the opportunity to grow through, if you don't have time to heal them or unaware of them, all those triggers do is pour salt in that wound and make it worse. And for me, it was such an innocent decision. And honestly, I felt like it was a loving decision to start watching that. And there's plenty of people that love that show, and all power to them. They don't have the same trauma and triggers I do. For me, it was very detrimental to my mental and emotional health, especially because I didn't have time to be able to identify and invest in and spend time healing through those triggers and the trauma that it unveiled. So for me, it was just really, really unhealthy. But it felt so innocent, and it was a good reminder and example to me of how proactive we need to be in every decision and every choice that we make, because that's part of the power that we have. But the reality is life's life, and it's going to have those triggers, and we're going to be forced to hang out with negative people or triggering situations, or just really, really unhealthy choices are sometimes have to be made for the sake of life. But how being intentional comes into play is we get to dilute those deposits into our cup with the positivity, with being intentional, with positive affirmations, with good habits, with fueling our body with healthy foods, with making sure we're in environments with people that lift us up and support us and love us, and that we're investing in our growth so we are more empowered to handle those bumps. And when we are bumped, the side effects of those situations are love and grace and compassion. So in the spirit of being intentional with filling our cup, I want to really dedicate the next couple episodes and beyond into different ways that you can invest in your cup, especially the next two. I have a strategy that I've used that has really, really empowered me to kind of apply this detox, right? And I have a worksheet that I created with y'all that if you go to www.glowmovement.com, that's glowmvmt.com/coffee cup, there's a PDF that you can download absolutely for free that will kind of walk you through different ideas of how to fill your cup, different ways to kind of detox your cup or dilute your cup, I should say, of that negativity, and over tip the ratio of positivity and negativity in your favor, setting those core values. There's lots of resources on that worksheet, and we're going to dive deeper into them in the next two episodes. So I will see you there.